Hey guys, and welcome to Quality Shot. I'm really excited to be joined by Hamid Qadri, the right arm off spinner from Kent. How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. Quarantine is we quarantining in a bubble, I'd say. No, I wouldn't call it a quarantine, but obviously staying in a bubble, cricketing bubble. So yeah, it's been all right.
I know you just had your media day as well, so you've been very busy. And before we kind of get into the nitty gritty and, you know, I guess your recent experiences, do you want to just let people know a little bit of how you got into cricket? You're kind of growing up as a kid as well. Like, how did you get around to thinking, I want to be a cricketer and pursue this?
Well, I sort of never played cricket, I guess. Always wanted to play football. Because my brother was, I don't know, being the youngest, you don't really choose too many things. You just sort of go along with it. So brother was into football, and I guess I always wanted to play football as well. Never good at it, I guess. But then obviously picked cricket. So I started watching YouTube videos, and then funny enough, I bought a bit of seam when I was 11, and I hurt my back. So and then mom was being protective as always. She said, "No, you've got to give up cricket." So and then I came up with other ideas of bowling spin. So yeah, I watched loads of YouTube videos and just would go and then go to the nets and bowl for hours and hours. Yeah, and then just from there, I guess got joined a cricket club and then went through the Derby age groups. So yeah, I guess journey's still going. I guess.
What YouTube videos did you start watching? What people did you watch at first that made you think, oh, I really want to get into this?
Uh, I watched, I would say, Saqlain Mustaq the most. Off Spinner and then eventually Derbyshire as well. As a kid, you always want to try things out, especially new things, and things that other people can't, I guess, can't do. So yeah, Saeed Ajmal, Saqlain Mustaq, was a massive fan of Graham Swan as well. So yeah, always just used to spend hours and hours and watching those guys bowl. And then go to the nets and just trying to put the work in.
Nice. I'm assuming was this before you came to the UK or after that you started
Oh
getting
no,
into
this
it?
was well. I never played cricket when I was in Afghanistan. So I started playing here when after a year, I think. So yeah, I never played before. It was after I moved here.
Nice. And you must have picked up really well because I mean most kids, right? Or I mean, honestly, most cricketers that make it, they start from a very, very young age. So the fact that you picked it up so quickly shows that you're a natural pretty much because picking up from the age of 11, I think you're saying as well, your progression is being like this, really. I mean, obviously, you said coming from the Derbyshire ranks, youth groups, so you would have been like scouted there. How long did it take you to get scouted? Like, how long were you playing cricket for? So from 11, what was the first age group that you got picked up for Derbyshire?
Uh, so I played about 3-4 games at 11, and then straight away, like obviously end of season, and then we had the winter off, and then at 12, played a few like district games and club games, and then managed to get scouted for county age groups under 12. So yeah, played under 13s, 15s, and under 17s as well. Yeah, from when I was 16, I got picked for the academy. And in the same year, I made my first class debut. So yeah, it was. I would. It was a fast progression, but at the same time, I always put the work in. It's yeah. So it was quite a quick progression. But yeah, it was. I put loads of hours in. So yeah.
It sounds like I mean, and you said about obviously getting. I mean, you played your first game, which is crazy to think about. Your first county game at 16, so you were the youngest player ever to represent Derbyshire in first class cricket. I think this is something for people to make people feel old, but you're the first county cricketer to be born in the 21st century. So that's something for old people to think. I can't believe he's really young. I guess because we're talking about Derbyshire then, what was your experience like there? And tell me a little bit about the few years that you were there and kind of, I guess, the players that you were playing with. I think Imran Tahir was there for a couple of years whilst you're there. I mean, what was the overall experience like?
Yeah, I really enjoyed my time at Derby. Obviously, coming through the age groups, you're always looking up to all the senior players, players like Madsen, Billy Godderman, and all the senior players around. I was really lucky to play alongside some of the best in at the county circuit and play with some fantastic overseas players as well. Yeah, as a kid sharing the changing room with the likes of Imran Tahir, Wahab Riaz, uh, Juven Mendes, and a few other Kiwis, fast bowlers. So yeah, I was really lucky. I learned a lot, not just on the field and how to conduct yourself and prepare and how to actually work as a professional outside of a cricket field.
Mm. So give me a little bit of insight into what Imran Tahir and Wahab Riaz are like. Because obviously, us guys at home, we see them on the cricket field. We've probably got our own perception. So in my mind, Imran Tahir is this very nice, but very kind of larger than life character. And Wahab Riaz seems like he's very fiery on the cricket field, but maybe he's a bit more laid back off it. But give me a little bit of insight into what these two were like. Not just off the cricket field, but on it as well. Like, what was it like playing with them?
I think he just summed up Imran Tahir quite well. It was just he's a very humble guy. There were incidents where some young leg spinners would want to have a picture with him, and he would just literally, if they had a question about leg spin, whatever ball he had, if the kids didn't understand what he was trying to say, he would take them to the net and work until they know what he's talking about. Yeah, it was like he's an unbelievable guy. I spent quite a lot of time with Imran. And then Wahab Riaz, I didn't really spend a lot of time because he was only here for a short period of time, but he seemed like well, I was just talking about cricket. He knew how to prepare for the games coming up. So in terms of preparation, the skills that you need for a particular game, I learned that through just how to prepare. So yeah, in terms of preparation, I learned that. And then so yeah, I was just with Wahab. He was always trying things in the nets. And the biggest thing the biggest thing I learned from both those players was how brave they were. So yeah, they would always say just take the positive option and be brave, especially with Imran. If guys are going after him, he wouldn't be able. He wasn't afraid to toss the ball up or give it some air. He would always take the positive and the attacking side. But yeah, off the field, unbelievable guys. Very humble, and I really enjoyed my time with both of them.
It's interesting as well because you said that you spent a lot of time with Imran Tahir, and him being a leg spinner and you an off spinner, you might think, oh, well, there's a bit of a difference there. But I'm assuming it's just when you're a spinner, you still have, as you said, like, certain plans and the mentality is very similar, and he would be able to help you quite a lot. So I'm assuming that was a really good influence for you at such a young age as well. Obviously, you performed well on your debut as well. I mean, what was it like on debut at such a young age, at 16? And you bowled pretty well as well on your debut. So how was it on your debut? I mean, was it like it must have been, well, was it a dream come true, first of all? And how did it go? Did it go as well as you thought it could go?
I always believe in myself. I think that's implemented from the hard work that I put in and the belief that I have from my family, especially my brother. So he always believes in me and always gives me the confidence that I'm good, that I can play at the highest level. but I think I bowled better than what I expected. But yeah, it was just a matter of being patient and and uh, patient and precise. I would say. Yeah, I definitely think I bowled better than what I thought. How I will bowl. But I really enjoyed my first game. As a kid, like first game, I uh, I don't know. Like I'll be lying if I say I was under pressure because I had nothing to lose. So there were no emotions. As soon as I heard I was going to fly, I just went to the nets and bowled for a bit, and that's it. Just literally took it ball by ball and then concentrate. I think that's the most important thing is taking time when you play, not letting the emotions affect you, like just concentrating on what you're trying to achieve. So yeah, for me it was very simple, just trying to build as much pressure and bowl as many deliveries as possible. So yeah, the one thing I really hate is the captain taking the ball off me. So for me, just trying to bowl as much as I can. So yeah, I knew I was going to get the rewards in the second innings. But yeah, I thought I bowled better in the first innings than the second innings, but I did get my rewards in the second. Yeah, I was lucky to pick a five. But yeah, I definitely think uh, playing good, playing first class level is definitely a dream come true.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because you said that in the first innings you thought you probably bowled better, but you got less reward, whereas in the second you thought maybe you didn't bowl as well, but you got a fifer, and it's crazy because I feel like, especially as a spinner, sometimes that happens. You when you bowl really well, you might not pick up as many wickets as you think you deserve, and then next thing you know the batsman play a couple of rash
Yeah.
shots to balls that you think, oh, wasn't expecting to get a wicket from that. So it's a funny game cricket, I think
Mm.
sometimes. You come across as very,
Yeah.
very humble and very, I think, grounded, and you just take everything in your stride. I mean, because when you're describing your debut, it's almost like it didn't really phase you. You're 16. Most 16-year-olds, they would have a lot of nerves going into it. But for you, which I think is amazing, is you just seem to have this mentality, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but that actually I just take it. It's a great opportunity, and I'll just take it with both hands and make the most out of it, which is great to it's great to hear and see. So before we go on to the Kent experience, I wanted to touch upon your England under 19 experience, because obviously in South Africa as well. Was that the first time you've been to South Africa?
No, actually, I first went to South Africa straight the winter I made my debut for
Okay.
Derby. So it went that winter 2017, 2018 or 2017 it was. Yeah, I think we were there for 3 or 4 weeks. Yeah, I really, yeah, I think it was 2018. Yeah, I love my time out there. It's facilities are great as always, and the weather is always good. So yeah, so yeah, it's not like England where it's raining and you get 2, 3 different types of weather in one day. But yeah, so yeah, I was lucky to go this winter, and then spent about 3 months over there, and then was lucky to get some cricket there.
Yeah. I mean, how was it? First of all, before we go into the tournament, how was it just being in a bubble, and obviously being with your mates? Well, I'm assuming you guys are like a pretty tight knit group and have kind of grown up. Some of them you would have recognised from other counties, or also from your own county as well. But obviously you're still quite confined into a bubble. So was it a little bit weird, and how do you cope with being in a bubble for so long?
Uh, well, eh, obviously now we're in a bubble because of, the World Cup we went to. Obviously, that was just before COVID. It was just normal life, and then we just traveled around freely. There was no COVID. Um, but yeah, the World Cup was a very good experience. At that age, it's the highest level you could play at. Yeah, above all, I'd say. So as a team, we didn't do as well as we should have. But yeah, overall, at that age, it's all about experience. But yeah, I learned a lot playing in different conditions and coming against different players from different countries and how they play, and you learn a lot. I would say so. So yeah, it was definitely an experience.
Yeah, it seems like you obviously picked up quite a few wickets. I think you picked up a wicket in every single one of your matches, apart from the last one, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, you seem to have bowled pretty well. And I think England didn't obviously wouldn't have done. You guys wouldn't have done as well as you would have hoped, considering I'm assuming you would have gone in there with the view to try and win it. But as you said, I think the experience is the biggest thing as well. How do you find the conditions bowling in South Africa?
Yeah, the wickets are a touch. Obviously, here in England, the wickets are a touch greener. But yeah, over there, you can get a bit of bit harder wickets that are less spin friendly. So yeah, you have to be really smart over there when it's not spinning, using your pace, different angles, and yeah, so your margin for error is small. So as a spinner, you're always under pressure when you are playing in those sort of conditions. But yeah, I guess it's. I had already been to South Africa before the World Cup, so I guess those memories, those experiences helped in a way. Yeah, and then obviously I had we had the amazing coaches, Ian Bell, who's played so many years, John Lewis, Min Patel. We had all these guys, and then just tap into their knowledge and on bowling on different wickets. Yeah, so that really helped those past experiences.
That sounds amazing. Yeah, I mean, obviously the names you just mentioned are very well known, and obviously some of them legends and of the game as well for England. So on those wickets, though, so my understanding from what I've seen, obviously I've never bowled on those wickets in South Africa, but my understanding is they're a bit more bouncy than obviously the wickets here. So is it a case of actually, if you put, obviously you might not get as much turn as you would maybe here in the UK, even potentially, but if you put enough overspin on the ball, you get that extra bounce, which makes it hard, and you can just see batsmen. Will you try and utilize that a bit more in South Africa?
Uh, it depends on overspin. It depends on different bowlers, and every bowler is different. So you wouldn't be able to bowl overspin just overnight. I would guess it's a skill that you need to have. So Australians, how they are brought up, they would have more overspin than us growing up in England. And those that are bowling in the subcontinent, they would be bowling a bit more side spin because the wickets are slow, so they have to fire into the wickets. But it's just a combination of pace. I think the most important thing was your lines and always keeping the wickets in play. So yeah, it was just lines and mixing your pace. That was very crucial. But yeah, if you have the skill of bowling over spin and side spin, obviously that's an advantage.
Yeah, that sounds very interesting actually, as all the game plans in place. And being out there, I mean, you played against obviously Sri Lanka, Zimbabwe, Japan, Nigeria, but also Australia and West Indies as well. I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit. Out of all the batsmen that you bowled to in the World Cup, who would you say, after bowling to them, you looked at and thought, hold on, they're gonna do something, in that adult level, like quite special? Was anyone that you thought, oh, they're gonna? I can see them doing big things on the big stage.
Uh, Before the World Cup, in our summer, we had a tri series against Bangladesh and India. Both to obviously we had a tri series against Bangladesh and India here in England. About to some of the Indian players, they're very good. Jaiswal, who played IPL, Saxena, and then a few of the Bangladeshi players. So yeah, they've been brought up in spin-friendly conditions, so they face it day in day out. So yeah, but to be honest, there was one game against Zimbabwe, and then there was I can't remember the name. Number 4 batter batted at 4, and literally as the only guy I'd say I struggled against bowling to him because he hit the ball everywhere like 360. He scored like 80 of not many balls. But against other guys that played against the West Indies, the Australians, I knew what side to protect, I would say, and try and bowl to one side of the wicket and get hit one side. But whereas when I played against Zimbabwe, there were a couple of players where they swept and reverse swept, so that made it a little bit tricky as a spinner. So yeah, playing against Australia, they sort of play straight, so you can hold your lens back and then try and make them play off the back foot. Whereas the West Indies, they're pretty much so they'd be like either dots or just not a slug, but just try to hit it out of the park, I guess. For them, it's just trying to be smart and vary your lengths and paces. But yeah, I would say Zimbabwe, playing in Zimbabwe, definitely
was it Wesley Madvahir?
Yeah, I think he was Wesley.
Yeah, he's actually now playing. So he's playing for the Zimbabwe adult team. So he's playing. The reason why I know that is because I support Pakistan as well. So I was covering it, and he performed really well. He scored runs for Zimbabwe. He looks really good.
Yeah.
And he's now played recently against Afghanistan the tests in that series that he had against Afghanistan as well. So he's a top player. So he's already doing stuff now. To be fair, only a year later.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he was very, very busy. Good player, but there's a difference that separates good players and the better players. It's like he was a street smart, if that makes sense. He knew he was a step ahead of me and others.
Good cricket IQ.
Yeah, definitely. He was street smart, so he knew what I was going to bowl. He's just trying to maneuver the field. That particular game, obviously, he came on top and scored 80 odd. But yeah, I bowled to some of the Afghani players as well. We had a friendly against them, but they were similar to the West Indies players. They were either just block or slug, so you sort of know what's coming. You can expect. But for players that are street smart and then they sort of dictate the game, so it's harder to bowl at them than the guys that are either block or slug against.
Yeah. What about the Aussies?
The Aussies. It was a good game. We lost, so it wasn't great. The last 4 or 5 overs weren't great, and then we were controlling the game until the 45th over. Sort of knew we're gonna win the game, but obviously one bad over just cost the whole game.
Yeah. Again, you said you played against Afghanistan. Do they give you like extra chat more than they would to the other players because they know you're from Afghanistan originally?
There was friendly banter, but it was definitely it was good to actually speak native language with them and just sort of catch up with them. It was nice. It was nice playing against them, and then they're great lads, and then some brilliant players. Proper players as well. Hopefully in 5 to 7, 10 years time, they'd be a hell of a player.
Yeah, I think Afghanistan with the team they've got. They completely blitzed Zimbabwe in the T20s recently, and yeah, I think they're going to be the dark horses for the T20 World Cup later this year. I think. But I'll get your thoughts on the T20 World Cup a bit later, actually, as well. So obviously you had that experience, which is, as you said, it was a good experience. Didn't quite go. You guys didn't go quite as far as you'd like. But now then you obviously came back, played some games for Kent. What's it been like, kind of, I guess, transitioning from being at Derbyshire, where you were there for quite a few years, now at a new county? Has it been quite easy to transition and kind of get to know everyone and kind of be comfortable, or is it taking a little bit of time?
Moving into a new environment always takes a bit of time. So I guess with COVID, it hasn't really helped because we only played like five Champo games where I was around the squad most of the time. only around the squad for 2 months. Yeah, there was 2 months of cricket, so we weren't really playing that much to sort of gel with the teammates. And yeah, it's the staff are brilliant. All senior players. Yeah, I'm really loving my time here so far. So yeah, so far so good.
That's good. Yeah, I mean, so I've spoken to a couple of them. They all seem like they all seem really, really cool. The guys I've spoken to. Yeah, I mean, Daniel Bergdrum, I think he's vice captain, isn't he now? So,
Yeah.
he's nice. He's the same age as me, so I could talk to him a little bit more. You're younger. You're like Ollie Robertson, who I talked to, and I feel really old. So, you young guns coming through. I guess then going forward, so if we talk about Kent then going forward for this year, hopefully we'll get a full season. It looks like we will, all the schedules out, etc. What would you say is your ambitions for this year? You know, whether it be, you know, in the county championship, or if you want to play some one-day stuff, even T20 stuff. What are you looking towards kind of achieving for this year?
Well, it's just trying to play as many games as possible in the first team. For young, trying to improve as much as I can. That's the most important thing. So yeah, I just add 1% into my game. So yeah, in terms of matches, just trying to. I don't really look at performance that much, but that's my currency. But I would say just learning as much as I can, and I'm playing and getting opportunities and grabbing onto those opportunities is the most important thing. So I don't really set goals in terms of taking wickets or scoring runs, but I just take it game by game and just trying to give my 100%. So yeah, be prepared before a game and then just give it 100% on the day. So yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because the kind of different people that I've all talked to, some say, you know, I want to score X amount of runs or I want to take X amount of wickets, but majority of the guys I've spoken to have all said, I don't really set specific goals. It's more improving from last year and kind of like building on from that. And you don't want to have a worse year than you had the year before. You want to be continually improving, which is interesting. I guess it makes sense as well. And I guess it also puts less pressure on yourself as well. Because if you feel like you're not quite getting towards that goal, then I guess it can be in the back of your mind a lot as well, which is a bit not great. What do you think of the new format, the county format that's been rolled out this year?
Yeah, obviously it's yeah, we have a few games where we have to travel quite a bit. We got a few games at Yorkshire, which is a long way away. But yeah, it's end of the day, it's as long as we were playing enough games. So yeah, and so first year of it, and let's see how it goes.
Yeah, I think it's been mixed. Most of the players I've talked to have all said like they kind of understand what I think, but they prefer the kind of old format with obviously the promotion, 2 divisions, etc., rather than this group. But I guess because of the current climate, maybe it's a good opportunity to roll out. So let's see how it goes, I guess. And I'm sure you'll be able to talk about it more after the season's done and see whether you prefer it or not. Yeah, growing up, so you said at Saqlain Mustaq, right? You're watching his videos, etc. But now that you're kind of where you're at, you're 20, so still young as well. As you're trying to improve, what kind of players do you look to as influences or people that inspire you, that you look to and think, oh, I can take that bit, or actually, you know what, I like watching them because I feel like they do this right and I want to implement it in my game? It can be a couple of people, but give me a couple of names and why.
2 years ago, I was really lucky to work with Nathan Lyon. I sort of had like two net sessions with Nathan Lyon, and yeah, his overspin was phenomenal. The revs he put on the ball, the amount of bounce he got was crazy. I stood out opposite end of the wicket, just trying to bowl to each other, and I could hear the ball literally fizzing out of his hand. So yeah, it was, definitely his overspin. And then Ashwin's different control over his grip. I would say there's, as a spinner, if you can have that, them two. So yeah, it's never easy, but yeah, sort of. Yeah, I'd say those two things are. If you have them, obviously that takes time. It doesn't take a year, 2, 3, or 4, but it takes a long time to have and put into your game. But yeah, certainly working towards that.
So just you said about the fizzing, I think every cricketer can relate to that. That when you hear that whistling or fizzing, you know that there's revs on the ball, or it's coming quickly. So that means that he's really like ripping through his action. If you can hear it fizzing from his hand, and he seems like someone who really goes through his action as well. He puts everything into the delivery. Like he really, I think, gets every ounce out of his bowling. Nathan Lyon, and he gets that ridiculous overspins. That must have been great, to bowl with him. And Ashwin, I think everyone knows, is phenomenal with different grips and variations, etc. as well. So not a bad not bad two people to look at and try and help you, I guess, improve as well. In terms of then, I guess, are there specific batsmen that as a bowler you want to kind of salivate at the opportunity being able to face one day? Are there a couple of batsmen that you think, oh, I really want to have a bowl at them, like as a challenge, to say, I want to have a go at them and see if I can get them out?
Let me guess. Bowled to Steve Smith, and that was a great opportunity. I didn't get him out, obviously, but I almost had him caught mid-wicket. But yeah, if I was bowled to one player, Virat Kohli, definitely, yeah.
Nice. How was it bowled to Steve Smith? Because as a bowler, right, he's so fidgety around the crease as well, and like changing his guard, etc. Like, does it put you off? Did it put you off, or did you just kind of block it out and just ignore it, or do you say, actually, he's moving around, I need to adjust? Like, what do you do as a bowler? What did you try and do?
To be honest, I didn't really see that. When you got the ball in your hand, which is what happens to me, there's when I'm at top of my mark, I sort of forget everything, like crowd or whatever there is, even in T20s or 50 overs, whatever I play. You sort of forget the outside noise, and then you just concentrate on what you're trying to achieve. Yeah, I didn't really look at that side or what he's doing or what. So just concentrating on what I need to do to get him out or get as many dots as possible. So yeah, he's definitely, especially looking at him from where I was stood at points. So yeah, he was just like so many things going on, and then yeah, it was definitely one like a proud moments when you're bowling to somebody like Steve Smith and then some of the Aussie players.
Yeah, 100%. And what was it? Some players I've talked to, and I think I talked to Hayden Walsh Jr., who's West Indies leg spinner, and he said that when he bowled to Kohli, I asked him, like, did you get this aura around him of like greatness? And he said, yeah, you get that kind of air of not arrogance, but confidence, and like, you know that you're facing someone great. Did you get that similar feeling whilst kind of bowling to Steve Smith, and around him, does he have that similar aura?
Yeah, he doesn't. He definitely has his presence at the crease. He's the sort of guy he would dominate from ball one. Yeah, he's not afraid to make a mistake or get out. So yeah, he definitely puts you under the pump. So yeah, as a bowler, when you're bowling to those sort of players, you sort of know they're on you. So you've got to be on it to get them out or sort of compete, if that makes sense. So yeah, he definitely had his presence at the crease. So yeah.
And as a well, I was going to say, what's your advice to any young spinners coming up? You're still pretty young, but any kids coming through, right? What kind of advice would you give to them after the experiences that you had? What advice would you give to them coming up if they're young budding off spinners and they want to come from the county system or whatever else it might be? What kind of advice would you give to them in terms of making it to where you are and kind of going beyond?
Yeah, there are a couple of things. Obviously, I progressed quite quickly. One, because I put the time in. Hours and hours. The other thing was I try things. So if you don't try, you're not gonna find out what you're good at or what you're not good at. So put the time in, try as many things as possible, get things wrong as many times as possible, make mistakes, and just be like yourself coach. Be your own coach, if that makes sense. And then the rest will take care of itself.
No, very well said. I agree. Yeah, no, that's very well said, 100%. And in terms of, I guess, being an off spinner as well. So just to what for people, I guess, who are watching and they're not as familiar, what kind of different variations do you have in your locker?
Uh, uh, I've really worked hard on developing my seam positions. Top spinner, my stock will be around 35, 40 degrees seam position. And then, so that's my stock ball. And then I would go a square seam arm ball, and then I have a carom ball. So 3 balls.
Very nice. Very nice. I love how you know exactly the degree, like 35 to 40. That's really cool, actually. I like that. So I was thinking in my head, 35 to 40 degrees. I was thinking about seam position, about face. I was like, okay, that's interesting.
Yes.
Well, that's cool. Nice. I guess just to wrap up, then I want to get your thoughts on a couple of the his current cricket landscape, you could say. We've got the T20 World Cup coming up. Not too far, actually. I mean, what is it? It's in 8 months, or 7 months' time, actually. Now, what do you think? Who are you backing in that? It's in India, obviously, so in pretty spin-friendly conditions. So I know that you've obviously just played England U-19, so you might say England, but you're allowed to say anyone else if you want as well. Who do you think, though? Or you can give me a couple of teams as well that you think might do well, if that's more the kind of less putting you on the spot. But how do you think which teams are going to fare well even going into that, do you think?
Well, it's T20. Anyone can beat anybody. India, England, Australia, Pakistan. So yeah, there's top 4 teams. They're a good side. I think one of them surely has to win. Or West Indies. You can always put West Indies in that category. Can't you?
New Zealand as well.
Yeah.
They're doing pretty well. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And actually, I forgot to ask you. So, do you have like a set ambition that this is what I want to do? What's the pinnacle? Because I've talked to a few people, and some people have said to me, Ollie Robinson said to me, his pinnacle is playing Test cricket for England, right? Red ball cricket. And then you have other people will say, I just any mean necessarily playing for England. I'm assuming it's playing for England. But what's the pinnacle? And is there a certain format that I'm assuming you'd want to play all formats, obviously, for Kent and also for England, like long term. But is there a certain format of competition where you think that's the pinnacle and I really want to be playing in that?
Yeah. Well, it's a bit funny. Like my brother always tells me that you're not a bowler until you play Test cricket. So sort of I love Test cricket. So I would stay away if Australia are playing. Let's say Nathan Lyon's bowling, I would stay away till late and watch him bowl. So certainly Test cricket. Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. That's very interesting. But I'm assuming it's on the flip side. You do quite well. Say for Kent, you do really well on the T20 Blast, for example, this year. Franchise comes and picks you up and says, actually, we want to take you on. I'm assuming you'll be like, yeah, like I'll go and play for them, depending on a schedules match up and it's different conditions, etc., to kind of evolve your game.
Yeah, 100%. If you look at Moeen, he's got strong basics, so he would be able to. So the basics don't really change. So T20 cricket, you're trying not to bowl the same ball twice in an over, but whereas in Test cricket, you're trying to bowl the same ball as many times as possible. So it's just a matter of having control on your stock ball, and then T20 is just adding a few other skills, your pace, your change of length, and your different angles. So there's a difference.
Yeah, is it? It seems like it's. I feel like back in the day, if we're talking about maybe 10 years ago, you might have, your T20, your ODI, and your testing would be very similar. But nowadays, you almost, in some instances, you might even have three completely different 11s or very different 11s. And there's not that too many people that play all three formats nowadays. And if they do, they're obviously very, very good players. So I think it's becoming more and more specialized in a way, which is quite interesting. So if you can play kind of more than one, 2 or 3 of the formats, and it shows you've got different layers to your game, which is quite cool. Yeah, 100%. Is there anything you want to touch upon before we wrap up?
No, mate. Thanks for having me. So yeah, it was good to chat.
No worries at all. Thank you very much for being on as well, and I appreciate you taking time out of your day. Let's see, maybe later on in the year we can catch up as well. But all the best as well for the season with Kent, and hopefully you pick up a bucket load of wickets. And yeah, I look forward to watching you, and hopefully you get as many games as you want. And we'll see you in the one-day stuff and also the T20 stuff as well going forward. Inshallah, yeah. Have a good one, mate.
Bye.